Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, a narcoleptic comedian, and this is a podcast where I interview people in my bed and we talk about sleep, comedy, and relationships. This week I interviewed Bill Bullock. Bill is a Chicago comedian, and we talked about getting too much sleep, having a phantom phone syndrome, social media. We talked about giving up the day job and how that's a really big step. We also talked about how his show, Congrats on Your Success, got to be on an upcoming episode on Season 2 of Easy on Netflix. You can also follow Bill R. Bullock on Twitter and Instagram. You can check him out on June 1st at Congrats on Your Success at Uncharted Books, and also check out his monthly variety show, It's Happening, at Lynx Hall. As many of you know, I am currently in an Indiegogo for my upcoming web series, Super Narcoleptic Girl. This is a really awesome product, and I'm very excited about it. If you do want to donate or find out more information, you can look it up on our website, superwebseries.com. Again, that's superwebseries.com, or find us on Facebook or Twitter. We're tweeting about it and everything, and it would mean so much if you could donate even just a little bit. Thanks so much. And you can also catch me every Monday at I.O., except for Memorial Day, at 7 p.m. at the Jason Shin for PIOV, a sketch news comedy show. And then you could also catch me on June 6th at Secrets, Lies, and Alibis at the Elbow Room. Sleeping with Sarah is happy to be part of the Laugh Factory Podcast Network, and we're also brought to you by Audible.com. You can go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah to get a free audiobook of your choice. This week I'd like to recommend Tina Fey's Bossy Pants. Again, that's audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. Well, let's get started with the show. Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, and I'm here with my guest, Bill Bullock.
Hello, that's me.
How'd you sleep last night, Bill?
Oh, not as good as I would have liked to.
Yeah.
I was, again, dealing with some friend drama.
Oh, drama. That's never fun, is it?
Led into today as well, so. Not as much sleep as I would have liked to have gotten.
Do you usually sleep pretty well?
Lately I actually have been sleeping better just because I don't have a day job. So it's like I can sleep when my body needs to sleep. It just does now.
So you can just nap when you need to and relax.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt because sometimes I'm not trying to go to sleep and then my body just goes like, well, yeah, but you're going to, because otherwise you're going to die. So it's like.
So what, do you try to stay up for days at a time or something?
No, sometimes I need to like get up early to do something and I can't or don't because I'm just lazy. And then sometimes I'm just like out later than I should be. You know.
Well, you do stand up, so that's pretty good, like standard to stay out late.
Right. But I'm saying when I had a 9-to-5 job, I was just tired when I didn't get the right amount of sleep. I was just tired for 3 days.
Yeah, I remember those. Sometimes you'd be like, well, I don't know if I should go to the owl, but because I got to work in the morning.
Well, right. And now it's like some I'll be tired for a day and then the next day I just zonk out for 2 hours and then I realize, oh shit, I've been not doing anything but sleeping on my couch when I could have been doing stuff.
See, that bothers me too. I feel like I'm wasting time if I'm sleeping. I'm like, I should just get the amount of sleep I need and try to get up. But sometimes my body just doesn't let me.
It's a really dark thing.
What?
It's like, I could get a lot more done if I just didn't sleep. It's like, yeah, but I mean, I'm saying this about myself. It's just very funny to think that like viewing that necessary bodily function as like a hindrance to like the shit you want to get done. But that's actually how it is, Well, but it is a need we have. We need to like process what's going on during the day and kind of like, it helps you focus. It helps you do so much more than just, what we think. We spent like a third of our life sleeping. So yeah, it's something crazy, ridiculous like
me
that.
Probably more, but maybe mine's going to be more like half. But
well, it's not like you don't sleep for like an hour when that happens, do you? Or do you?
Oh, well, I could. My sleep stuff's very weird. I mean, I take medicine to stay awake, but I could, if I didn't take my medicine, I would sleep just all day.
Damn.
Yeah, I used to sleep between 18 and 20 hours a day in high school before I was diagnosed. Like, I would sleep.
What?
Yeah. It sounds like it's not possible, but it is. I would fall asleep on the way to school, sleep in every class for at least 5 to 10, sometimes like more than like 30, 40 minutes in a class. And then on the way home, I'd fall asleep. Then I'd stay awake for like a little bit after dinner, and then I'd sleep. So
good Lord,
that was my life. And like every time I went to the movies, I'd fall asleep. So like I spent so much money on movies I never saw.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah, that seems like not ideal.
Yeah, but
I didn't realize it was that much.
Well, I was it's the height of it when you're in high school, and then it gets better. So it's gotten a lot better, but I had a fairly severe case, I guess it's safe to say. But I have a fairly severe case, but I don't know. Everyone's different. It's weird. We just came off Sleep Awareness Week, which was last week, so yeah.
Didn't know that was even a thing.
I know. It's funny how, like, you pay attention to the thing that's very related to you, but not the other weeks of shit.
I mean, yeah, but I think that all of those things are kind of like that, because who's the person who is not interested, or who doesn't have a personal connection to sleep issues, who's like, yeah, Sleep Awareness Week. Like, if that person's nuts. So it makes sense that it would mostly be people who are, have a reason to be close to it. That makes total sense. I don't think that's that weird. It would be weirder if you were a person who was like, I'm a part of every, Raccoon Awareness Week, and
dress like a pirate day or whatever.
Yeah, like, if you're that person, you just don't have anything else going on in your life.
And you just want to celebrate other things every day.
Yeah, so
every day could be a holiday, if you think about it hard enough.
I mean, yeah, I feel like somebody's claimed every single day of the year for some dumb thing. So, and some of those things are more important than others, but
what do you think is the dumbest holiday we have?
I don't know. I mean, there is that Talk Like a Pirate Day, but that's not real. I don't know. I think a lot of our holidays are stupid. Like, I definitely think that, like, Sweetest Day and all that kind of stuff is, like, all...
I don't think even when I was in a relationship, I didn't celebrate Sweetest Day. That was just silly.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I kind of feel bad that other people's holidays that are important to them, like Cinco de Mayo and St. Patrick's Day, we just use as excuses to drink.
Yeah,
like those
and they're not even. And the funny thing is, they're not even that important to those people.
Really?
Like, we've turned it into this whole thing, but it was never like Cinco de Mayo doesn't really mean anything. It's not a real thing. It's not like people say, "Oh, it's Mexican." No, it isn't. It's not Mexican Independence Day. That's not what that is. I don't know. I can't remember what it is right now, but I can tell you that I've been told by plenty of people. Sorry, I'm cracking my knuckles into the microphone like an idiot. That's I've been told by plenty of people who are of Latinx descent, it's not Mexican Independence Day. Somebody made that up, and all these dumb Americans are like, oh yeah, that's what it is. Let's just do that. And it's like, no.
But I know Dia de Muerte is like more important. Is pretty important though. The day after Halloween, right?
Is that when it is? I don't know the actual...
I forget. There's like 3 days around Halloween that are really important. Like one is the Day of the Dead. Sure. And then one is All Hallows Day or something. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember the exact specifics of it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Somewhere around.
We don't have the specific. We could look it up because we have boxes that pull things from space.
I know, but isn't it nice just to like have a conversation without looking at your phone for once? Yeah. Or do you feel like a phantom limb?
I was making.
Oh.
Is that we don't have to do it. We could do it, but we don't have to.
That's kind of nice. Yeah. Do you ever feel like you have a phantom limb if you don't have your phone?
I will often have my phone in my hand and then feel a vibration on my left leg in the pocket where I normally keep my phone. I'm just like, that can't be possible. I'm holding my phone. I'm not getting a text message, idiot, because I'm holding my phone right now in my hand. It's in my hand. I can't be... I'm like, oh, who's calling me? Oh, there's no phone in my pocket. Where's my phone? Oh, it's in my hand. I'm out of my mind. You know what I mean? So that happens to me quite often. Yeah. And it's really dumb. Or like I'll be wondering where my phone is because I set it down somewhere that's not in my pocket.
So it's always in your pocket?
Well, when I'm out, yeah. Because I don't like to leave it places because motherfuckers steal your shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm always like paranoid about losing it or misplacing it. And I usually have to tell someone, hey, my roommate, I can't find my phone. Can you call it? And usually I find it right when I tell the person.
It's embarrassing.
It is so embarrassing. But I kind of miss when we didn't depend on it so much. Like, I wish I didn't have to be on Facebook, but I feel like I have to be.
Yeah, I mean, I miss... Right, yeah, I don't like... I've come back all the way around to the other end of social media stuff. Like, I used to be... Because I was in college when Facebook was, like, exclusive to college.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and so that, like, it was new.
You'd have an EDU, and they didn't have ads, right?
Yeah. And that was everybody made such a big fucking deal about it when Facebook got ads, and it's like, no one actually cared. Why did we had so much time to talk about bullshit back then that we would get mad that Facebook was changing their layout or adding ads, and it seems so ridiculous now. It seems so absurd to even have ever cared about that shit. But yeah, like I remember when Facebook first came to my school, and I was like, you guys are all crazy. Like, what are you doing all day, like, looking at Facebook? I didn't even use MySpace or any of that stuff.
I remember MySpace. I remember that being a thing.
I never did any of that shit. And then Facebook came around, and everybody was like, it's like crack. It's like Facebook. I have to check it every day. And I'm like, every day was like a weird thing to check it like once a day.
Well, because you didn't have it on your phone. Right. You had to go to your computer lab.
But now it's like every second, you know what I mean? And I've come back around to like, okay, I hated it. And then it was like, well, okay, I see the appeal of this. And then I got into it for a while. Then I started doing comedy, and it just felt like another chore that you had to do. Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
Now it's like, I'm so sick of it. I feel a lot more like Tig Notaro. I just want to be like, somebody do this for me. I don't feel like doing this. Even if it's weird, I don't care what you do.
I like how she does that. So for those of you who don't know, Tig gives her Twitter to other comedians to like run for a day or two. Mm-hmm. Have you ever done that? No. I know a few people in Chicago that have done it.
Yeah. So my friend Shannon did it recently.
Noel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
It's such a weird thing, but I just admire the like, okay, I have to have a Twitter presence because now I've gotten to a level of fame where my people are telling me I have to have it. Fine. I'm just going to let other people do it. I don't give a shit what they do because it's not important to me.
That's awesome. But now it's like, even if you're like trying to get a set on late night or anything like that, they like look at your Twitter followers and they will literally, I know someone this happened. They'll tell you, hey, we loved your set. Everything's great, but you don't have enough Twitter followers. Mm-hmm. I know a couple of people that's happened to, you know, and I'm like, and both of those people have gotten late night sets since then, but not for that show that said they didn't have enough.
Yeah. Then there's other shows that have definitely, let's say they have given preference to people who weren't as good because they had a bigger following.
Yeah.
I've seen that. And they made it not a secret that that's what they were doing.
Oh.
So it was like, you know, I don't want to, it wasn't me personally dealing with that, so I don't want to be all tooting somebody else's horn, but that is definitely a thing. So you're right.
So that's the thing that sucks. Shit. It's like, oh, people are going to look at that, so it's like, okay, yeah, I have to be on it and doing something.
Sure.
But.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And at this point, it's just like, it's such a chore. I don't even enjoy it. I just do it.
Sometimes I like the hashtag games. Those are kind of fun. The midnight ones. Those things are fun. But like, yeah, it's just...
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm all for... I'm not saying that there's something wrong with the idea of it. It's just like, for me, it's just like such a... I'm not doing it because I want to be. You know what I mean? And if you want to be, then go for it. It's totally, I can see why.
Yeah, and I don't get the people that are tweeting like 10 times a day. I'm like, I feel like I do lead an interesting life, but not that interesting to where I have to tell people what I'm doing 10 times a day. Yeah, that's... You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. I don't even, yes. And I never really used it for like, here's what I'm doing right now, or here's what I'm eating. I never really did that. It's always been just like thoughts that I wanted to see if people had a reaction to, less than like, I'm going to be down the street at this restaurant. So good. You know what I mean? Like, people do that. And that's, I don't... Whatever.
A lot of those people get paid to do that, though. Like, I think that there are certain apps, if you have over a certain number of followers,
sure,
they'll give you like free food at restaurants and stuff just to like tweet about it.
Well, shit, man, make your paper. I'm not trying to even stop people from doing that. It's just like, for me, that's not where I'm at mentally, what I want to be doing with my time. So I just don't. But I'm not trying to say, look, whatever. We're all independent contractors. There's no middle class anymore. Make your paper however you can. If you can get free meals every day just by tweeting, then fucking do it. I ain't trying to stop nobody from doing that. But I just, it's just not in my soul. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just not in there.
On that note, you can follow Bill on Twitter at...
yeah, it's Bill R. Bullock. It's
Bill
there.
R. Bullock,
it's there. The middle initial is there just because some asshole has Bill Bullock and he doesn't use it.
You know what I did? This is about 2 years ago. There was I had underscore Sarah Albritton, and then I saw there was another girl with Sarah Albritton, and I had gotten a retweet from like Hannibal, and he retweeted the wrong. Like, he tweeted at different, because I ran into him at, I think, Tonic Room or something. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh shit, I should really just get my name. So I found this girl, I followed her, she followed me back, and I messaged her, and I got her email. And I was like, hey, look, it would be really awesome if you could give me these names. And legally, I wasn't allowed to ask for any money. Like, because they say in the rules you're not allowed to trade it for money. But she was just nice enough, and she did. We scheduled a time where she changed her name, and I just took the name.
Wow.
It's just like, it doesn't hurt to ask, I think. Like, I don't know. It's just easier.
No, yeah, I did. I mean, I asked the dude. He just has a private account and he's some fucking business guy, so.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm not interested in fighting him about it, but he clearly doesn't use it, so.
Yeah.
Whatevs. He has no followers, so.
That's always annoying. Can't they just, like, remove it? Like, if the person's not active for 2 years, can't you just, like, delete their Twitter? No.
I have no idea. Yeah. But then on top of that, it seems like one of those things where, okay, so I'll get into it. I actually have a thing about this where, like, going to that level of effort seems like the exact thing that I'm trying not to do with it. And so then if I commit myself to being like, well, I need this because I want my actual name. If I go to the level of effort where I'm like challenging this guy and like emailing him back and forth and like trying to get him to give the thing up or even paying him for it, which is out of the question because I don't have any money. But if I got to that level, it would be I think I would be brushing up against my boundaries of what I think, like, well, this is what social media is for and this is the amount of effort you want to put into it. And like, because I'm a performer, I don't want to be an internet, I don't want to be a social media person. Like, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah. You don't want to be an internet sensation, a brand that people follow. You just want to do comedy.
I mean, yeah, or whatever, or voice, whatever I'm doing, I just want to do that, right? But, but I don't, again, I feel like that stuff is a chore on top of what I actually care about doing rather than being a part of the thing that I do.
The thing you love writing and performing. That's primarily.
And I feel like a lot of social media is upkeep and promotion, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what I want to be doing with my time. I recognize that it's important to do. Anyway, doing that thing and going that far with it is like, okay, well, yes, it makes business sense to get that name, but that dude has no followers. So it's not really hurting you. It's not like other people are
following that guy thinking he's you.
Of course not. And
that's a good point. Yeah.
And if I go to that level of effort, maybe I'm spending effort and my limited time on things that I said I don't care about, right?
And so then that proves that you care about it, and then it makes you feel like, oh, I care about this thing that I really don't want to care about.
Or like follower counts and stuff like that. I know people who closely watch their follower counts and stuff like that.
Yeah, I saw someone post that was like, hey, I know this person unfriended me on Facebook, and I was like, okay, like. Well,
yeah, that's even more because Facebook friends and stuff is like, that's a two-way handshake. So it's like, I get it. But followers and stuff is like, most of these people are people you don't know and would never talk to, so it's fine. But like, if you're like 5 away from a major round number, you
pay attention.
You're kind of like, okay, well, maybe I can get to this number now. And then the next day, you get a bunch of followers, but the overall number has gone down. So it's like, oh, so I lost more followers than I gained last week. What the hell's going on? And that's when I'm like, oh, no, see, that's why you don't care about this shit, because now you're paying attention to, like, every single day. You're like, oh, who unfollowed me and who followed? And it's like, who gives a shit? Like, why are you doing this? And I caught myself in doing that. And you
were like beating yourself up. You're like, damn it, Bill, why are you giving
not even I didn't do anything. I knew I didn't do anything to people just, people do what they're going to do. But why should I give a shit? Right? Like, the people who follow me because they want to. The people who unfollow me just don't want to follow me anymore. That's not necessarily about me, but me caring about the number is about me.
Yeah.
Right? So I shouldn't be, if I don't care, then I don't care, right? Like, don't do it if you don't care. And that's why I was like, okay, I'm going to stop checking to hit this number. I don't give a fuck. It's not, and this is not like some pretentious, like, I'm over it, I'm too cool for everybody. I'm not, Kristen Stewart. But, I just don't feel like there's anything for me personally to gain from that, because that's not how anyway, my Twitter is not like hyper jokey, super, like one-liner anyway, because I'm the wordiest dude I know. So like me and Twitter is not where my best jokes are gonna be anyway. Yeah. So it's like I shouldn't be so focused on that shit.
But now that you don't have a day job, you find yourself having more time to spend on comedy and writing and all that stuff.
Yeah, and also the outside aspects of it, the like actually like doing, auditions and going to meetings to like maybe plan new shows and stuff like that. It's just stuff that you can't do at the same time as you're doing shows or going out for open mics or whatever you're doing, or just watching other people's shows. You can't do all that other stuff because some of that shit has to do with other people's day jobs. And like, okay, so I know people who run theater spaces and that's dope and I would love to work with them, but I can't meet them because they're doing shows at the time that I'm doing shows. Gotcha. And so if they have their 9-to-5 job is in the theater, in the actual office, then I have to, if I want to meet them, I have to meet them during that time.
Yeah.
So
I guess it's kind of a catch-22 for some people that are trying to get to like a different point. Then they got to either give up the day job or figure out what to do. I
mean, it's a good point to get to. I don't know that, I'm not trying to, I don't have any like illusions about the fact that I'm like some ready to pop celebrity. I'm not there. It's just, I got to a place where like my job was, I had just started a new job. And I had told them that, like, in the interview process, and this is like an IT job, so it's like a serious 9-to-5 real adult boy job. I had a
big boy job.
I had to have a degree to even be considered for this job, right? It's not like Groupon. No offense to all my friends who work at Groupon. It's just like, this was a real ass place. And so you normally wouldn't do what I'm about to say I did, because if you're doing these kinds of jobs, you want that money, right? But I told them, I was like, look, I'll take less money if you give me more flexibility in terms of hours and working remotely once a week and stuff like that, so that I can do my other stuff.
And what'd they say?
They were kind of all about it in the interview process. And because I came to them confidently, like, I know that I'm qualified for this position. I'm overqualified for this position. I'm taking something that is kind of beneath me, a job that I got promoted from in my last place of business 3 years ago, because I'm taking a step back so that I can do more comedy stuff. And I told them that flat out. Normally you wouldn't do that because it might not get you the job. But they hired me on the basis of the fact that I was like, I'm serious. I wanted this and I'm confident that I can do this thing and my other thing. And then when I got in there, they kind of like changed their tune and were like, no, you need to be more, like...
Well, the thing is, people want people to care about their job. Like, if you're getting paid, they're like, we want you to see this as a career. And for those of us that want the career in comedy, it's like whatever job we have is going to take a backseat to comedy,
Eventually. Yeah. I mean, once you get to a point where you're doing it enough, that is the hope, right? Or unless you don't want to do it as your...
Unless you're just doing it as a hobby, which is totally fine.
Totally understandable.
If you want to do it as a hobby, that's totally fine. Right. But there's just the difference.
Right. And once I got to a place where I admitted it to myself that I didn't want this to just be a hobby, that in an ideal world, this will go somewhere that I can at least make a living off of it, then there was no job, there was no company that I could work for in a 9-to-5 capacity that was going to make me feel better than that. Yeah, exactly. That feeling, even though it was nothing, I wasn't making any money from the decision. Like, once I decided that, once I got an agent, once an agent came to me about voice acting and stuff like that, it was like, okay, this is real. This can happen.
Yeah.
Did I make any money at that point? No, I actually was still losing money on comedy at that point. But it became so real that I was like, oh, I don't care. There's no job that's going to make me care enough to actually like not constantly be too overtired to do the job correctly. And then when your boss gets in your face for being obviously sleepy at work, it's like, oh, yeah, normally this would be the point where I get my shit together and, really work harder and try to be successful at this. But I don't care. Like, I actually, they can't make me care. Threatening me with firing is just like, okay, well, I'll get unemployment for 6 months and that'll actually give me a lot more time to work on my other shit. That once you got,
it's like the threat. Yeah, it's like
once I got to that point, I just walked out because I was like, this is stupid, and it was dumb of me to do that because I should have just floated by and saved a bunch of money because right now I'm broke. Let's not. But it was absolutely the right decision because there's so many things that I've been doing lately that I just don't think I would have been able to do. I don't think I would have had the time or the flexibility to do it.
And how many years in did you have that realization? How many years into stand-up did you have that realization about like that having to be what you had to do?
January marked 6 years. So I was like, it was last September that I finally quit that.
Because I remember seeing you afterwards. You're like, yeah, I quit. You were so happy.
I, for real, just didn't show up for 2 days. And then on the third day, it was a Friday. They were like, are you coming into the office today? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. It was like for real, like office space where I just one day I was like, oh, I don't care about, the money's not good enough. Oh, okay. I'm just going to go back to bed then. And I just did. And I just went back to bed. And they called me and I was like, and they were like, irate. And then the second day they called me again and they were like, what's going on? And I just didn't answer. And then on the third day they called me and they were like, are you coming back? And I was like, yeah, I'll come back. Knowing that it's a Friday and I didn't show up for 2 days in a row and that...
Knowing that you probably get fired.
Right. And I walked into the office in my head saying, well, they're going to fire me or I'm going to quit because this is stupid. Like, I'm doing them a disservice by not just doing something. And so, yeah, I just quit. I just couldn't... It was just... I just had that moment of like, oh, I don't want to do this. I want to do the other thing. And being scared of being broke or being scared of not being successful at comedy as much as I thought I was not enough of a deterrent anymore to keep me from doing
I think that fear is
this.
I think that fear is important though because that makes you work harder. I feel like that fear is like a motivator that makes you work even harder at your craft at comedy doing this because you are broken, trying to work at it.
Sure. But I always had this fear of like if I quit a good job and I ended up broke, then I fucked up in some major way. But also that fear went back the other way where okay, if I fucked up in comedy or if I didn't do enough work or if I wasn't getting enough shows booked, it was because my job was holding me back. So it's not really my fault. I'm doing as much as I can. It's just this job. I can't do more because of the job. I can't do more because of the career. I got to keep my 9 to 5 so I can pay the rent. And it was an excuse. It became an excuse because I had hit a wall. I had hit a ceiling in my mind of like what I was capable of doing while still having a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
And the 9 to 5 job was the excuse for me not to do more, right? And once I took to the point that, I was going to do more for whatever it took, then I started doing more, and then it started actually bumping against the job, and I actually saw that I was being the ceiling that I thought I was under with my job was actually all in my head. I could have done more, and then I actually hit that ceiling for real. Right around, like I said, right around the time that I got contacted by an agent. They were basically like, "Hey, if you want to do this, if you want to sign with us, you have a IT job in the suburbs. What are you doing?" Like,
yeah, you have to at least be downtown so you can go on auditions.
Right. We need you to be in the city. You need to be able to go on auditions. And so, that's when that happened, when I actually hit that ceiling. So, but yeah.
Yeah. And where did you start comedy then?
Here.
Yeah. You started here in Chicago?
Yeah. I started at Cole's. Right when Cameron Esposito and Adam Burke were still running that room is when I started doing comedy. Actually, Cameron and one other comic, Ricky Carmona, I always credit them with like being the reason why I do this now, because I was going to that mic just as an audience member, because that's one of the only mics in Chicago with like
audience, a
lot of audience every single week, right? No offense to other mics, but Cole's is an anomaly in that way, is what I mean. Other mics that are great don't have that,
and you get people walking in and doing, Hannibal comes in a lot, and
that stuff happens, and even back then it happened to a slightly lesser degree, but yeah, I saw Reggie Watts walk in there one time. I saw, people.
Saw Ron Funk's, punches.
He came through recently.
I feel like it was the fall or something. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
That was recent. Man, he lost so much weight too. He looked great.
Yeah, he's done really well.
Yeah. But yeah, I started right in that room, and I would come there every week just to watch. And one time Cameron came up to me at the bar, or I came up to her, I think, to say hello. And she was on a break. That's what it was. Like they had switched hosts. And I walked up to her just to say hello and basically suck up, because I was a nobody. And she was like, you're here all the time. Why don't you go up there? And I'm like, oh, no. I think I've told this story to some podcast before. But I was like, no. I don't want to do comedy. But in my mind, I was like, yes. You know what I mean? And so she was like, you need to sign up next week. And Ricky Carmona did kind of the same thing, where he was at the mic and he saw me, and we had mutual friends, so he knew who I was based on some people who weren't even in the comedy scene. And he was like, "Oh, you here at the open mic? You gonna get on stage? Go and get yourself, boy." And I was like, "No, I just came to watch you." And yeah, and then the next week I signed up, and Cameron was like, "See, I knew you wanted to do it. Clearly you're gonna do it. That was great. Now don't expect your set to ever go that great again, because it was your first time." And everybody was, because you know how Cole's is. They're like, if it's your first time, they love you.
Yeah.
And she was like, don't ever expect, you're going to bomb from now on.
Yeah, for the next year.
So be prepared. Yeah, so be prepared. And she was right. She was right. It's so easy to get a big head about it. That first time, because you get so much, there's so many emotions. Even if you don't do well, just doing it for the first time. The high,
the anticipation, all that.
There's a lot to that,
And what's kind of cool is I see people that come every month to my show, and you can recognize the people in the audience that want to do it, you know, and you're like, well, when are they going to get to their point where they're going to be like, yeah, like I'm down to do it. I'm going to,
I don't know,
take that leap. But I feel like, if those of you that go to shows and have thought about doing comedy, we can see that you want to do it, and we're supportive if you just like say, hey, ask about an open mic or try it out.
I mean, I think some people are more supportive than others when they hear that. There are a lot of people in the scene who think that there's some value in telling people not to do it because it's taking up your spot or whatever. They could end up taking your spots. And it's like, look, man, if some random person that you see at a show starts doing comedy for the first time and then overtakes you, that's on you.
Like, if you've been doing comedy for years and they're just starting, they're not going to be taking your spot.
And also, there is no, I parked on a meter. I'm just checking. I used the app to make sure that I don't.
I could have given you a pass.
I got plenty of time. I don't care. It's all good. I just don't want to get a ticket because my car is all I got.
That's why so many comedians are Lyft drivers and Postmates and all that stuff.
Again, that's what we were talking about. Brought it all the way back around full circle. There's no more middle class. We're all just independent contractors doing gigs.
It's the gig economy.
Yeah, it's fucked up. Anyway, yeah, I think there are a lot of people. I always tell people, just go to an open mic. At the end of the day, comedy needs as many voices as there are people who want to give it. And that's not to say that everybody should have, everybody should be paid to be a comedian if they want to be a comedian. I'm not saying that. Only certain people are going to ever do this to a point where they get paid for it. That's totally cool. But comedy as a notion is better when we're all better, right? Mm-hmm. Like when we all are doing more or saying something more important or just better at the shitty goofy jokes, right? Like if we're writing the best shitty goofy jokes that we can and there's competition that makes us want to write harder, that's only a good thing in my opinion. So more voices and more diversity and more people interested in comedy is only better for all of us because it requires all of us to be better to do it, right?
And I think it's also good because by having more voices, more diversity in the voices as well, it's like you're getting different points of view, different perspective. And that's why I'm like happy about seeing how many, like Comedy Central's new order for next year.
Sure.
How many more diverse voices they're getting versus just white male,
Yeah, sure. And that stuff took so much time to start happening. And when it all started happening at once, everybody looks at it as like some kind of weird backlash. And it's like, no, it's just the first time it's happening. And so it's kind of important to the people that it's happening to for the first time, right? Like that's important. Mm-hmm. And you can look at it as like, and this is, okay, so this is the same thing as like what's happening locally on our scene is like, you can look at that as like, oh, all these new people coming up or all these people getting shows that came out of nowhere or just moved here or whatever. You can look at that like it's some kind of competition or you can look at that as somebody taking your spots. But if you do and you just sit back and blame it on that, that's you sitting there blaming it on that instead of doing the work to get back your spot.
Because you got to do the work.
You have to. And if you think that somebody's just taking your spot, that's you sitting down too long.
Or you just being expecting to get a spot just because you've been around.
Right.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well, the people who sit down are always the people who just have the expectation that they'll get stuff. So, it's not a good thing to be on your laurels. It's just not. And encouraging somebody to do something is not the same thing as giving away your job. That's not, because your job is only you can do what you do in the scene. And that's why I'm saying all these different voices are great, because ultimately, if you do it right, if you're doing comedy and you find your voice, it's unique to you. That's what finding your voice means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So nobody else can do what you do, and nobody else can occupy the lane you're in. So
how long did it take you to find your comedic voice? Are you still working on it?
Do you think that I have?
Are you still working? That's just a question.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm being facetious. I don't know. I have no idea if I'm really there or not. I feel good about where I am comedically right now. I feel really good about it, actually. I'm trying to get to a place where I'm like ready to write or like record an album. Like I feel like I've written enough, but I haven't put it all together in the exact way that I want to. But that took me, like I said, I'm 6 years in and I'm just now thinking about it for the first time.
Yeah.
Like consciously thinking about, okay, I can do this or that, or I can do this venue if I wanted to if I wanted to record something and who can I talk to about it? And I actually have ideas in my head about how to make that legitimately happen now. And I do think I have enough places or people who I can work with that would make that happen within the next year or so. So maybe if you view it like that, I wouldn't want to record anything if I didn't feel like it would stand up. It would stand up to the test of time later. Like I don't want to record an album and then 2 years down the road record another album and be like, hey, that first album, don't even buy it because that wasn't me. Like this is me now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
And some people change their voice and change their stuff on purpose from album to album. Musicians do that a lot, right? And some comedians do that too. But I certainly wouldn't want to do something, even if I have a drastic change in how I write or how I deliver my comedy in the future. I still want this thing that I do now to be a thing that I'm proud of in the future, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm waiting for it. So I don't know if I found my voice or not. I found something that I like right now. That's what I'll say.
That works, right?
Yeah,
you know?
And I don't see it changing on purpose anytime soon. So
yeah. So were there any comedians that you followed that you like looked up to before you went up or no? Or was it just the open mic comedians that you were seeing at Cole's?
Sure. I mean,
a lot of those have gone on to do fucking great things. So it's not.
I mean, I'm a Chicagoan. Like, I'm first and foremost, I was born in this city. So, like, Chicago over everything is, like, a real thing to me.
So you like Chicago, like for life? Like, Chicago, you want...
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I feel like I don't have any plans on moving. Like, there are some people who are, like, ready to move, right? And even if it means they have to start over. And it's like, for me... I don't personally feel any investment in going to New York or going to LA. I just don't. I don't feel any investment in that because this is my home. This is where I was born and this is where I want to be for now. Like, if there's something that comes up, like, going to LA is not a milestone for me.
It's not an accomplishment, yeah.
Going there because somebody asked me to do something there, that's more important to me. Moving to New York because someone asked me to write for a TV show, that would be dope. I don't have an expectation of that happening anytime soon. And so I'm just going to do everything that I can in this town and get as much as I can out of my hometown. And then if I go somewhere, it's because I had a reason to, not because I wanted to not because having moved there was a big deal, right? Yeah. And I'm lucky because I'm from a city like Chicago. If I was from like some small town in Kansas, I could totally see why moving to the city is a big thing, moving to Chicago, and then moving to another bigger city is a bigger thing, right? Mm-hmm. But because I was born in a big city, I don't think I have that.
Well, and there's still things that are like industries slowly, we had Shrink film here, we've got Easy that filmed, and that filmed at your show, right?
Yeah. Congrats on your success. That kind of came together super weirdly too.
So did they approach you about it? Like, how did that happen?
Well, it's not completely my story to tell. It's more Odanaka's story because he kind of spearheaded the whole thing. So I got to shout him out. Odanaka Izakole is one of my co-producers on that show. And basically what happened is, he was on a web series called Brown Girls, which was dope.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've saw that one. That's with Sonia.
One of our other co-producers, Sonia, was in that show as well. She was one of the main characters. But he also happened to know the creator of Easy in some personal way. I'm not 100% sure on the details, but they know each other. They actually talk to each other and hang out. And so Joe Swanberg, the creator of Easy, would just come to our show sometimes and hang out and watch our little dumb bookstore show. And then all of a sudden there's the conversation turned from him just coming to our show to him talking about having Odanaka in the show as some background character. And then it became a bigger thing. And at some point, once they started talking seriously about hey, you're going to be on this Netflix show. Do you want your stand-up showcase to be a part of the show?
And you're like, whoa.
And it was duh, no, yeah, what are you talking about, Joe Swan? Yes, please, put us on Netflix. And so OD made sure that, straight up, everybody involved in the show, past or present, had a chance to be on that show. And had a chance to be on Netflix in our show. So that was super dope. It was one of those things where it's you get an opportunity and then you bring all of your best friends into that opportunity. And so, like I said, I can't take a lot of the credit for that. That's his story more than mine to tell on how he made that happen. But he did, and it happened, and it was super awesome. It was top to bottom. It was one of the coolest things that I've done in the scene. So I'm really excited about it. I hope that hope that there's actually any screen time on
happens,
there. Yeah. Like, we could be talking about this now, and then when it comes out, it's like, oh, yeah, that whole episode was cut. It just didn't get we didn't get the right footage. It's like, oh, well, okay, well, thanks, everybody, for thinking that we were going to be on Netflix. Sorry. It could happen. You never know.
But that's what happens sometimes, you know, and
that's what I mean.
I've heard of people going to premieres thinking that they had the scene in the movie, and then they see the movie, and they're like, oh, they completely cut that scene, or it's just the back of my head.
Yeah.
And that's a reality of something that happens sometimes.
And so I'm not gonna, until it's out, I'm not gonna like put the Netflix logo on my headshots or anything.
Yeah.
I'm not about to embarrass myself in any kind of way, but it was a fun, no matter what happens or what comes of it, it was a really, really excellent experience. And it feels like that was like a good step forward and a good indicator that I am moving forward and that things are actually progressing and that the scene in Chicago is worth staying in some ways because stuff like that can happen now. That was not a thing 5 years ago.
Yeah, that was, but what's great is that we have these, like I said, like Tim Baltz with Shrink, and
exactly.
that being filmed here. And we've got a lot of other industry, but that's mostly serious dramas, like Shameless and all the Chicago Med PD, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I think it's slowly happening where, more comedies could be filmed here. They have the capacity,
Sure.
It's just about making it happen,
Yeah. And for the record, I'm not 100% only interested in doing comedies. Like, I would certainly do a Chicago Med or a Chicago PD or a Shameless if you wanted me in NBC or HBO or Showtime or whoever the fuck. Just give me a job, okay?
I love that you're assuming that like executives in LA are listening to my podcast.
Oh, I'm not assuming anything, but anytime I appear anywhere, I want anybody who might be listening.
Yeah, same goes for me though too. Just so you do voiceover stuff too, then, right?
Yeah, that's all very embryonic right now. That started. I got. Like I said, I was at the Laugh Factory and doing a set there, which went fairly well. And then I got approached by a woman who turned out to be. I thought she was just like a well-wisher. I wouldn't even say like a fan, just like someone who saw me and wanted to say like, "Hey, good job." And normally, you get a lot of that when you do
and that's
comedy.
Nice. Yeah.
And it's nice. And so I always want to shake those people's hands. And instead of shaking my hand, she put a card in it and was like, you should call me. And I looked and it was like, oh, she's an agent at this talent agency for voiceover. And she's like, I want you to, and I went into their office. I lied to my job about where I was going because
doctor's appointment.
It was on my lunch break. And that was when I was working that job in the suburbs. So they sat me down and they're like, this is what we want you to do. And, we want you to go on auditions and all this stuff. And it's mostly been like commercials, right? Like it's mostly been like McDonald's commercials or Xfinity commercials or whatever. And that's fine because even doing those is more fulfilling to me than like, did you turn it on and off again? So that was a super dope moment for me, but I haven't really like booked anything important or like worth mentioning.
Aside from commercial stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I haven't really booked any commercial stuff worth mentioning. So I've done some other things and I've done some voice acting that I like I was in a series, a couple different series under the umbrella called Synesthesia Theater. And that's like with this group, this local production company. They're very, very fledgling and very new, but they really want to tell interesting stories. And I thought that the first story that they were doing was really cool. And so I ended up just doing like a 1-day thing. And then it turned into a whole connection. And I became like their engineer while they were recording. And then I was like an associate producer.
So that's why you know stuff about mics and that kind of,
Yeah, well, my dad is also like super into sound engineering and sound reinforcement.
Really?
He's always done that ever since I was a kid.
Did he do your voiceover demo?
No, actually.
Oh, sorry. I guess I'd think, free voiceover demo if your dad knows all that stuff.
That would have been a smart thing to have utilized, and I'm realizing now that I probably should have just done that, but I didn't. That's really funny. No, I'm lucky because I got approached. I had sent the same company that is my agent now. I had sent them materials and demos and stuff before, and they ignored it. And I know they ignored it because you can put analytics on your stuff if you put it on Google Drive.
Mr. I don't care who follows me on Twitter, but I'll care who watches my videos.
Well, I care if I send
it to an agent.
Yeah, I care to see if they actually looked at it.
That makes sense.
And they didn't. They ignored it completely, and that's fine. And then to have that same company eventually approach me, even though they never saw my demo originally, that felt good because they saw me live and they realized they saw the skills. They recognized the potential out here. The brand is strong.
That's how most people I know that perform, that somebody sees them live and then that's how they book their agent.
It's way more often that happens because any idiot off the street can send a tape that's edited and sounds somewhat decent, but if they see you live, they know that you can do it, right? They know that you can actually do it. So that was a good moment. I feel like
that is pretty good. Like, especially when you're like in your head, you're like, oh yeah, I've submitted to you 5 times in the last 6 years, but you're finally, that kind of it's kind of nice.
I was right, and now you see that too. It's what it felt like.
Yeah. You're like, it's about time.
So that's why I didn't feel like nervous when they asked me to come in. It was like, yeah, this is what I've been trying to get y'all to fucking call me for 5 years, and now you know. And now I'm actually ready. Like, maybe the first time I sent them something, I probably wasn't actually ready, but I wanted it.
Yeah.
And now it's happening, and I am actually ready on top of it, so I'm not going to complain, right?
Yeah.
That it took this long to happen because maybe it could.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah, it would have sucked if I got in front of them off of some demo that, like, some crappy demo I made off of stand-up stuff, and they were like, okay, come on in, and then I turned out that I wasn't ready, and then they were like, okay, fuck this dude, and then they never talked to me again. It's way better to have been ignored for 2 years and then be seen, and then they're excited for me rather than me coming in there being too over nervous and not being ready. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and do you do acting too then?
I will.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I have. I've done voice acting. I've done a little bit of stage and stuff. So I'm ready to do a lot of different things. I was just talking to someone who runs is the musical director for a group of singers. So, like,
you can sing?
I'm
I guess I assume people...
I'm a multi-threat kind of
I feel like
performer.
some people in the scene definitely, like, work the fact that they can sing into some of their bits. So it's like...
I have. I have.
Yeah, you do too?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that I do that. It is something that I have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like your closer. No.
And it's also, like, really easy for that stuff to become gimmicky.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to do that. Not that I'm accusing anybody who does music in their bits of being gimmicky.
I think that's just using all their skills that they have.
Right. And
showing
that's
off.
important.
Because you want people to know all your skills.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, that's actually really funny because this happened yesterday. I was at a thing and I was doing a set that was like, it was on a theme. The show was kind of themed. Mm-hmm. And I was doing a set that was on that theme. And then I saw that this person who I want to know that I can sing was in the crowd and on the lineup after me. And so during my set, knowing that they were there, I pulled an audible and did a different set where it ends with me singing. And then a mutual friend of ours was trying to tell that person that I want to sing with them or I want to audition for them or something. And while they were having that conversation, I just started singing. I had no idea.
I had no idea. That's like one of those perfect timing moments.
And so I was so happy that I did that because, it worked out so perfectly. And now we had a conversation after that. Who knows if anything, again, all this shit is always like, who knows if anything will come of it, but...
And this kind of transitions into one of the questions I asked near the end of the podcast, which is like, what are your dreams for the future? Like your goals?
Man, I've learned lately that my goals are always too direct when it comes to this stuff, or too specific, and that I should lean into like the oblique angles that I end up falling into this stuff, because like the ending up on Netflix, like I said, oblique angle is not, it wasn't like I auditioned for a thing. Although what's really great about it is that the casting agency that does all the casting for that show is the same one that I had just had an audition at the same day.
Oh, that's great.
I had an audition at the casting agency that my agent sent me to, and it was like, I walked in and they were like, "Oh, so when are you doing that other thing later?" And it's like, "Oh yeah. See, you already recognize that you called me 2 weeks ago, and now I'm auditioning for you today, and I'm filming something for you later. So like, my name is going to be in your head, whether I actually get anything from it or not." So I've learned that like, if I'm like, I want to book this TV show by the end of the year, it never happens like that. But something that's almost as dope or just as dope comes my way in a way that I wasn't expecting. You know,
so you're just kind of keeping open for the right opportunities.
Yeah, and I'm like working hard as fuck to be like visible when those opportunities come along. I think that's the most important thing for me, is like, it would be super easy for me to just like fall into the background and not do the work. And that's on me if that happens, right? So I'm working hard as fuck to stay visible amongst the people whose art I respect, not just comedians, but other artists, staying in visible in those scenes and belonging there, right? You never want to be the person who's like, yeah, I come to the show because I love this singer and I watched him, and then people are partying afterwards and I'm like, "Hey, how you guys doing? I'm this guy you don't know, but I want to hang out with you guys because I think you're all great artists." That's cool to have that instinct, but it doesn't work, right? Mm-hmm. Belonging in that room with those people and staying there when you realize you belong there, is that it takes work, and that's hard, but it's important to do, because once you start doing stuff that's big enough, you'll notice that you're not doing it with 10 other comics. You're doing it with like one other comic and a musician and a dancer and a character actor and stuff. And so you need to be able to play to those kinds of people too. The people who would go to see that too.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think's cool about doing different, like, I'm hosting a music show on Wednesday at Tonic Room, and like, that'll be fun, you know, because that's like lots of different, doing a little bit of comedy, but like a lot of hosting and like bringing up different bands and stuff. And like that stuff is always so much fun because it's a different experience than just being in a stand-up show that's all stand-ups.
Right. And yeah, exactly. And that variety aspect does play into your ability to do other stuff again, do other people's shows because they like you, because they're not into comedy at all, but they saw you and they liked what you did at this thing, and then they booked this other space, and then you can go to that. And then you end up working in front of a bunch of new audience members and other artists and people you wouldn't have seen you at your showcase. You know, my bookstore showcase. In the basement of a bookstore. Yeah, they would never have seen me there. And that's not to say that show's not popular, but it's just not the same audience, right? And so being ready for that and being visible in that is super important to me right now. That's like my main
focus.
It's the main way that I've kept this thing going right now. And if that means anything about like my comedic voice or the lane I occupy in this scene, I want to make sure I do right by that. So all I'm focused on right now and all my goals are for right now is to do general things like get a TV credit, which
almost you might, yeah,
at this point possibly done. I mean, I have one already for this year, so that's nice.
Oh, cool.
And then, you know, just do a festival or two and stay and I'm planning some new shows and stuff that I'm trying to produce, and I want those to come to fruition by the end of the summer, and we'll see how that goes. But I don't know. Look, my overall goal is get famous, right? You know, I don't know if you play video games at all, but sometimes when you play a video game that's like Grand Theft Auto or it's like open world, there's like a story and your goal is, oh shit, that guy killed your dad, kill that guy. But you can also drive around this neighborhood and play with this cat and raise this cat from a baby, and you can run a barbershop, and you can do all this, but kill that guy. That's your overall goal. That's my...
Grand Theft Auto has gotten way more complex than when I played it.
I'm combining multiple games. I'm combining like The Legend of Zelda and Shenmue.
I want to play the new one really bad, the new Legend of Zelda, but...
Yeah, I heard it's really good. I haven't played it yet. But yeah, I have this overall... Get whatever there is, and there is not a final place. It's always like a trajectory, right?
Mm-hmm. Get there, and then where's the next place?
Right, but do it like this. You're doing this as your job now, so now it's your job, right? Mm-hmm. So do it is the overall goal. And if I feel like I've gotten things, or I've booked shows, or I've gotten onto TV, is always like in service of that now. As long as I keep doing that, I feel like I've met the goals that I've made for this year or next year.
Well, I think those sound pretty achievable then.
Yeah. So far I've achieved... I feel like this approach is working because I've achieved more than what my original goal set was. So...
That's always good.
And it's May,
Yeah.
This is again not bragging because I keep my goals very manageable for that reason, because I don't want to be out here like pretending that I'm some big shot, because I'm not. I'm nobody still. I was excited to do a show where they gave me $30 and a drink ticket. I was excited to do
$30 is pretty good for like a during the week show. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I was excited to do that show, even though that's all that there was to offer, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Well, thanks so much for doing the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And we always say good night, so good night, everybody.
Oh, good night. Sleep tight. Don't get bed bugs.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to Sleeping with Sarah, where I slept with Bill Bullock. You can follow Bill on Twitter and Instagram at Bill R. Bullock, and check out his upcoming show, Congrats on Your Success, on June 1st. This podcast is part of the Laugh Factory Podcast Network. Please remember to subscribe and rate and review on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. We're brought to you by Audible.com. Please go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. I'm releasing a new podcast each week. Be sure to tune in to find out who I have in bed with me next. Thanks to Josh Bryant for the music. You can find out more on sleepingwithsarah.com. And please follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Until next time, good night.
Sleeping with Sarah.